Hey guys, Jason with Flat Fee MLS. Hey, I want to talk to you today about home inspections. I understand it's necessary for most people in most instances to do a home inspection. We recommend it in most instances, but what it's not a secondary negotiation tool. Uh, I've got a deal going right now that I'll guarantee you it's a cash deal that they agreed to our counter offer, knowing that they were going to eventually get to their number through a home inspection. That's not what they're used for. We see some contracts from Lexington area, out of the Bluegrass is where I see most of them. That state, the home is in as is condition. This is for informational purposes. They got the right to walk away, but we don't see these laundry list of repairs. If you go look at a 20-year-old home that has a 15-year HVAC unit, that's what you went and looked at. You didn't go look at a new home with a new HVAC unit. If everything works as it should, that's what you're buying. Um, I agree to a certain extent on some things. I do get the seller that, hey, they're not going to find anything wrong with my house. Well, they're going to. They're going to find a lot actually. Does a lot of it matter? No. I live in a 4-year-old home that I built. I'll assure you, if you pay $7, $8, $900, I've seen some of these inspections with mold test and radon test and all these tests come to that you're going to find a list of things that could possibly be better. Is it an issue? No. Is the roof leaking? Does the HVAC work? Does the plumbing work properly? Is the basement leaking? Those are the main things. If you buy I've got a rehab house, needs a complete rehab. Deal fell apart because of a home inspection. They said it needed to be rewired. Well, I knew that from the street. If you're going into a ad that says needs complete rehab and you want to negotiate after the fact because it needs rewired, well, guess what? You use that as a secondary negotiation tool. That's not what these are made for. These are made for informational purposes. If the buyer and seller agree to fix a few things, that's great. Maybe a couple $1,000s off, something to that effect, but not $5, $10, $15, $20,000 after the fact. If there's a material defect with a roof or something to that effect, then hey, we need to look at addressing those things. Daylighting downspouts, stuff that's not causing an issue for a home that's been there for 20 years, 30 years with no issues. That's not something that needs to be fixed. That's something that was done when you looked at the property. Everything needs to work. I understand that. Everything needs to work the day you move in. That's the only thing they can warrant anyway. HVAC works the day you move in. 2 days later, the compressor goes out. Nobody knew that was going to happen. That's not on the seller. We got to use some common sense here. If people's been living in the house for the last 15, 20 years, if the basements aren't wet now or show no signs of water after the rainy season we've had, guess what? They probably aren't going to leak. Most basements leak at some point. Most of the time it's drainage. It's not concrete. Concrete is porous. It's not made to hold water out completely. You got to get the drainage away from the house. We got to use a lot of common sense on here. And again, it's not a secondary negotiation tool. You can't negotiate in good faith to purchase someone's house, have a home inspection, and then come back with you want $15,000 or $20,000 done. That's just not what they're made for. It's made to let you aware of some things. But again, 25-year-old house, 30-year-old house, 40-year-old house with a 20-year-old air conditioning system that's working after the inspection, you don't get a new air conditioner for that. And to tie up someone's house to do a home inspection and then say, I want a new air conditioner, or I want a new HVAC, or I want a new roof, or we're walking away, that diminishes that house because it's gone off the market, then back on. Everybody wants to know what's wrong with it. What's wrong with most of them are unrealistic buyers. Buyers go into a 30-year-old property, a 50-year-old property, a 100-year-old property with unrealistic expectations of what that property should be. Every house has a couple little quirks, has a couple little issues. As long as it's square, it's not leaking, the plumbing works, the HVAC works, that's part of home ownership. You're not going to move in a 40-year-old house that doesn't need anything. I think a lot of this is on some of the agents. The agents need to educate their buyers and their sellers a little bit. I'm okay giving a little bit, I'm okay with my sellers doing a couple little things or giving a small price adjustment for some things maybe they didn't know, but not to renegotiate the whole contract. So anyway, again, it's Jason, Flat Fee MLS. Look us up online, nkyflatfee.com, $4.95. Get your house on the MLS. Give us a call, 859-743-5453. See you next week.